closing costs. So this, there's no reveals in here, so what I may do is go in here and fill in some blanks. So hang on with me here. So what are we going to do here? Let's close that animation box. Let's zoom in so you can see this. People always say, well, what are closing costs on a purchase? So let's do it this way. So typically closing costs are about 2.5% to 3.5% of the purchase price. So that should have been a reveal, but we'll put that in there. So if you buy a $100,000 house, it's going to be on the higher end, 3.5%, 4%. If you buy a $300,000 house, it might be 2.5%. And we're referring to all the closing costs of purchase, as well as the prepaid taxes and insurance that you're going to set aside to pay your property taxes and set aside to pay your insurance at the 12-month renewal. So title insurance. So I did a scenario, and don't hold me to these costs. These are not a disclosure. We're not pre-approving your loan. But let's do title insurance. So title insurance, you've got your owner's policy as well as your lender's policy. So let's fill some numbers in here. So you've got 200 an FHA purchase with the $275 purchase price. We might have an owner's policy that's often paid for by the seller of $1,040. And these are based off some First American numbers. So, and then a lender's policy of about $469 for total title insurance of about $1,500. You've got escrow costs, and this is again the fee to close the purchase. And I've got an escrow fee for all those numbers, including some notary charges and so forth, of about $1,200. I've got recording, and that's going to include recording and closing and so forth. So that'll include the notary signing fees, the recording, and the county fees and so forth. I think there's a recording fee that's usually about $100 that's on top of that as well. Home inspection, I mentioned that before, about $250 to $400 plus, depending on the property. Pest inspections, usually about $250 to $350. A lender fee, our lender fee is $14.95 flat, includes all the stuff, right? All the underwriting, processing, doc draws, and so forth. Appraisal fee is typically about $425 to $450, all the way and upwards, depending on the price and the complexity of the appraisal, to $650 plus. So transfer tax depends on the county. So I did a local one, local to us. Don't look at this and say, well, Lauren said transfer tax was this, and it's different. My transfer tax is about about $865 paid to the county and city. So let's total these up. This does not include your prepaid taxes and insurance, okay, which we're not going to go into too much depth here, but you're going to have prepaid taxes, insurance. But let's zoom in again, but we'll start a calculator. We'll total these up. So 509 plus 1320 plus, we'll just say 350 plus 450 plus 1495 plus 865. So worst case scenarios, and some of the, again, 1,000 of this may be paid by the seller. You may have lender credits to pay this. You may have seller credits. $6,000 in closing costs, and then we'll have our prepaid taxes and insurance. So we may have some around $7,000, $7,500 when it's all said and done, or we may have zero. So again, closing costs can be paid for by the seller. They can be paid for by interested parties like the seller. The real estate agents can pitch in and pay it. The lender can pay it. We've got certain things that are paid for outside of escrow, like home inspection, pest inspection. The appraisal's typically the only thing paid up front on a purchase, at least in our market. So good summary. Don't get too bent out of shape about closing costs. Let your loan officer educate you based on what you have. So you may have to go out and shop for a home and say, I need a seller credit. I need a lender credit to buy. So we're looking for the whole enchilada, the closing costs and the down payment if it's applicable on your loan program. But don't sit on your thumbs because you don't have the down payment plus the 2.5% to cover closing costs. So